So hi guys, welcome to April Fusion and Union. With this practice, it's the mindful practice. I'd like you to grab hold of a blanket and fold it so it's yay thick, and then just place it just behind you. Bring your legs straight, just bring the blanket just to the lower part of the back, and then just allow your body just to roll over that blanket so that lower back feels nice and supported. Just bring the arms to cactus arms if that's comfortable, or T-shaped arms if that feels better for you. Just take a moment here just to close the eyes to connect with the body, and we're just going to have that scan from the fingertips to the toe tips and up to the crown of the head. Just check in with all the parts of the body that possibly feel a little bit tight. So quite often when we're laid in a flat position, our lower backs can feel a little further away from the floor, and by having that blanket underneath just gives us a little bit of support in that lumbar spine. But it also allows the thoracic spine to open up the chest a little bit by pushing that thoracic into the blanket, and that chest lifts a little higher. And the head can relax behind the blanket on the mat. Just take a few moments here just to connect that mind and body together. So when we think about the body, we have 5 layers. We've got the physical body, which is all the bones, the skin, the structure of the body, that engine that carries us around. Then we have the energetic body, which is the breath, the prana. Then we have the mental body, which is the emotions and the thoughts. We then go into the knowledgeable body, which is our wisdom, our discernment. And then last of all, it's the blissful body, the true I. And just think about that body as though it's a Russian doll with those 5 layers, one being put inside of the other. The outer layer being that physical body, and that last layer being the blissful body. So let's take ourselves to our energetic body now and think about that breath, trying to bring that breath a little longer, a little deeper as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, letting all of that air push out of the lungs, contracting around the rib cage to squeeze those lungs to push that air back out of either the nose or the mouth. So your choice with the breathing can be in and out through the nose, or use the mouth if you wish. Then bring the attention to the mind part of the body. And thoughts come and go quite often through practice. Quite often you can find yourself thinking about what you're doing for tea, what jobs you've got to do at the end of the class, what jobs you did before class. And the way to bring yourself back into a focus of the here and now is to bring yourself back to that energetic body and feeling those sensations of the physical body. Just letting those thoughts pass like clouds in the sky. And then quite often that 4th part of the body, that knowledgeable body, will switch in if your body's telling you that something doesn't feel right. It uses that wisdom and discernment to make wise choices, so make sure you switch into that. And that blissful body can quite often come through that meditation of movement. We are going to be quite repetitive through this flow. So that should switch you into a little bit of mindful movement into that meditation space. Keep that focus on the breath, be aware of how your body feels, make choices that are right for you. So bringing a bend into the knees to bring the feet in towards the bum. If you need to change the arm position here, feel free to do so. I'm taking mine into cactus arms so I can have a little openness through the chest. Keeping your left foot planted, point up with the right toe straightening through the right leg. Then make big circles going clockwise with that foot. So taking it around to quarter past, taking it to half past, keeping that lower spine pushed into the blanket, around to quarter to, and then back to 12 o'clock. Take it again in that clockwise position, quarter past, half past, quarter to, and back to 12 o'clock. Now take it anti-clockwise, so sending that leg to quarter to half past. Trying to keep that pelvis nice and stable as you move that leg around, noticing how it feels in that hip joint, in that socket joint. One more time, anti-clockwise. Noticing whether you have any clunks or clicks as you move around with that foot. And when you bring it back to 12 o'clock, bring that right foot back to the floor. So now putting your weight into your right foot and lift and point the left toes. So we're going to take that movement again, but we're going into anti-clockwise first. So taking it around to quarter, round to half past, making as full a circles as you can. Keep pushing that back into the mat, keep pushing the shoulders down into the floor. Another round of anti-clockwise with that left foot, taking as wide a circles as you can. Try not to flare too much in the ribs, keep some abdominal strength switching on. Take it now to clockwise, so bringing it around to quarter past, bringing it down to your half past, feeling that sensation through that socket joint on that left hip. Back to 12, and then take it again in that direction. Keep pointing through those toes. Bringing it back to 12 o'clock, and then bring that foot back to meet the right. Bring the hands now down by the sides of the body, and keeping that support from the blanket on the lower back, just start to push into the feet as you roll up through that spine, not bringing it into full bridge, just bringing it into a long level line from the knees to the shoulders. And then slowly roll back down through that spine. And as that spine comes down and the tailbone starts to go to the floor, you'll feel that natural curve come into the back. And then this time flare the ribs and feel like you're putting that tailbone towards the shoulder blades. And then push that tailbone back towards the heels. And then start to raise up again into that almost tabletop position, but the shoulders are a little lower than the knees. But you've got that nice long line from the knees to the shoulders. And then take it back down, feeling the back touch the blanket. And when that lumbar spine starts to come down and the tailbone starts to touch, you feel that slight little arch come into the back. And then take it into a deeper arch by drawing the tailbone back, flaring through the ribs. Then push the tailbone again back towards the heels, start to lift up with the lower belly and raise those hips again. Back up towards the ceiling, taking it into that straight body. Not going into extension, just going into a nice long line. And then one last time, slowly bring that back down. Bringing that lower arch into that lumbar spine as the tailbone touches. And then take it into exaggeration as you lift that tailbone towards the shoulder blades. Come back to neutral. And then when you're back in neutral, straighten out with both legs. Bring the arms up to point towards the ceiling. And then start to curl up through the head. The chin comes to the chest. Start to roll through the upper spine as you slowly make your way up into a seated position. And when you arrive in seated, bring the hands behind you. Bend into the elbows. So this is our support. Bring your knees back into a bend, and then take up one foot to knee height, the other foot to knee height. Then we're just going to do cycling movements here with the legs. So straighten out with the right leg, bend more into the left knee, and then the same with the other. And just keep circling those legs as though you're pushing into pedals, either with pointed toes or flat feet if that's where you wish to go. Work with whatever that ankle needs. Use those hands of support and keeping that belly drawn back to keep that core engagement. Just do a couple of more. And then bring yourself back to that boat position with the support of the hands. Hold it there for another breath. And then release the feet to the floor. Remove the rug or blanket from behind you. Swing the legs around so you find yourself in a tabletop position, bringing the heel of the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and take a couple of rounds of cat-cow here. Breath in, lifts up the head, lifts up the bum, and lets the belly drop down towards the spine. Just hold it in this cow position for another breath. And then when we take it back to cat, we're going to start from the tailbone and work our way up through that spine. So start to curl under with the tailbone. Feel those vertebrae start to curl as you bring it up into that thoracic spine. And as it comes through the thoracic spine, start to let it come through the cervical spine of the neck, taking yourself into cat. So we're going to start from the tailbone again and go back into cow. So start to lift from the lower part of the back. Start to feel that curl coming up through the centre, up through the chest space, and then up through the neck. And again, start from the tailbone. Start to tuck that tailbone under. Start to draw that belly back. Start to curl through the lower, mid, upper spine into that neck. And again, taking it back, starting from the tailbone, all the way up through to that thoracic, cervical, and lift that gaze. This time we're going to start from the head. So start to bring the head, chin into the chest. Start to curl up through that thoracic, all the way down into the lumbar. And then start to tuck that tailbone under. Starting from the head again, start to lift up through the chin, the neck. Start to create space across the chest. Stretch across the belly and lift of the tailbone. One more in both directions, starting from the head. So bring that chin into the chest. Roll through the upper spine, into the lower spine, and start to let that tailbone tuck. One more the opposite direction, starting from the head. Lift up, curl through the neck. Curl in between the shoulder blades. Down into that lower spine and lift of the tailbone. The next place you'll find yourself is a tabletop position. Finding tabletop, tuck your toes under. Walk the hands back towards the knees. If you want to use your blanket underneath the bottom here, you can bring that blanket underneath. We're just going to find a toe stretch here for a couple of breaths. By putting the blanket under gives you less compression in the knees and compression in the hips. So we're trying to stretch the bases of the feet. If this feels uncomfortable, just see whether you can hold it for as long as you can. If it's really uncomfortable and it's not something you wish to do, come down with the toes untucked and just bring the bum to the heels with the tops of the feet flat on the mat. If you're with me, we're just going to do some arm and shoulder mobility whilst we take our mind off how our toes feel. So bring the arms forward. Bring your right arm under your left arm, bend the elbows, bring the back of the hands together, or find a double wrap and find the palms. Raise the elbows up and feel that stretch along those shoulder blades into those rhomboid muscles and the contraction through the pectoral muscles of the chest. Just hold it just for another breath and we'll take it on the other side. Bring the awareness to that stretch through the back of the body. Keep your awareness on the upper body rather than the lower body. Unravel and then take it the other way. Elbow of the left under the right, back of the hands or palms. Lift the elbows up. Try not to think about anything other than those shoulders. Feeling those stretches. One more breath here. And then release that bind. Bring the hands forward. If you've used the blanket underneath the bum, just bring the blanket to the side. Take an untuck of the toes and then just have a little paddle of those feet. Just to bring some sensation back into those feet as they can be quite angsty after doing that particular pose. And then make your way to stack your shoulders over the knees and the hips. So we're kneeling position here. We're going to take it into camel. Take it to whatever depth you wish to go to. I'll start with the easiest option. So bringing the hands to the lower back, pointing the fingertips down, little fingers together. Push those hips forward, squeeze the glutes, tuck the tailbone down and lift the lower belly up. And then start to lift up through the rib cage, lift up through the gaze, taking yourself into whatever back bend works for you at this position. We're all going into this first option first, just to get our backs used to it. And then if you choose to stick with this option on the next two, then that's absolutely cool with me. Keep that bum squeezed. Make sure you're not feeling any pinches in the lower back. Squeeze of the shoulder blades together, trying to encourage the elbows as close towards each other as you can to create that space across the front of the chest. Next breath in, bring yourself back to center, engaging through the glutes still to lift that torso up. Release the hands down by the sides of the body and just let your body swing from side to side, just to neutralize that spine a little bit before we take it into our second back bend, which can be done exactly the same way as we've just done. If you're coming with me, we're taking half camel. So I'd like you to tuck your toes under and then lift up with your left hand. Bring your right hand onto your lower back and start to do the same thing, pushing the hips forward, sending the gaze up to the ceiling. If you found a comfortable space, you can always drop that right hand onto the right heel. Feel that length coming through that left side body. Keep pointing the chest up. Turn and rotate that right shoulder so we create that space across the front side chest on the right side body. Breathe easy here. Remember, you can still be in that back bend that we did at the start. Absolutely your choice where you wish to go. So your next breath in, engage the glutes, bring the right hand back to the lower back and then lift that torso. Bring the hands back down by the sides of the body and tuck the toes for a moment. Just have a swing from side to side. So when we do one side, we always do the other. So if you haven't just done the first one and you did your left hand lift, we need to do the right hand lift. So tuck under with the toes again. So it just raises the heels for you to reach with that left hand. The right hand lifts. We place the left hand onto the lower back to start. Squeeze the glutes, push the hips forward. Take yourself into your back bend. It might be where you wish to stay with that left hand on the lower back. You may have both hands on the back and stay totally in that space. If you're coming with me, you reach your left hand down to reach that left heel and you take that back bend maybe a little deeper, squeezing the bum all the time to protect that lower back, lifting and flaring through the rib cages as we are taking a back bend here. So when I normally tell you to tether those ribs and hips, it's when I'm trying to keep you strong in the core. But we're staying strong in the glutes and that's what's protecting our body. One more breath here. And then bring that left hand to the back if it's on the ankle and then slowly lift back up. Bring the hands both down by the sides, untuck the toes and just have a swing of the body both sides just to neutralize that back again before we take ourselves into a forward fold. So bringing the hands behind, take an interlace of the fingers, push the hands down towards those feet and then on your out breath, fold from the hips, bringing that head down as close to the mat as you can. If it's the forehead that touches, that's great. If you want to come onto the top of the head and lift the hips a little higher, try and take little weight in the head as you can possibly by pushing the feet into the mat, pushing into the knees. The hands can be left at the lower spine if that feels uncomfortable to lift them high. We're just taking that shoulder stretch at the front. So we've got that contraction of the rhomboid muscles through the back. One more breath in this position. And then bring those hands back to the lower spine. Bring the hands then to beside the face. Bring the big toes together. Widen the knees. Bring yourself into a child's pose. Walking the hands forward and letting the chest sink towards the floor. So the next part of the practice is going to be a little bit of repetition by doing the same things. We are going to be reaching back with the hand when we're in low lunge, but your choice can be just to reach back slightly and gently, or try and reach the ankle. Okay, so your next breath in, come back up onto the hands and knees. Send your feet back into a plank position and then lift the hips and start to squeeze the heels back or paddle the feet for our first down dog. Being aware that this is our first down dog and those hamstrings may feel a little bit tight. Gaze in between the hands and start to walk the feet towards the front of the mat. And then when you arrive in standing, just allow the body to fold over those legs. Your next breath in, raise those hands all the way up towards the ceiling. Bring the palms together at the top. Then bring the hands to the chest. And just hold it in mountain just for a breath. Your next breath in, raise those hands up to the ceiling. And on your out breath, fold from the hips, bend the knees if you need to bring the hands down towards the floor. Step your left foot back and drop your left knee. Untuck the back toes. Actually, no, keep the back toes tucked. Then lift up with the torso. And then reach back with the right hand to either grab a hold of that left ankle or just reach towards it if that feels more comfortable for you. So we're stretching that left side body, reaching back with the right hand towards that left ankle, breathing into that space just for another breath, trying to find that stability and support. And then windmill the hands down either side of that right foot, lift up that back left knee, bend into the left knee and straighten the right leg. So finding a half pyramid pose. Quite often in this pose we have both legs straight, but we're keeping that left knee bent in this option and keeping the right leg straight as much as possible. Just allows us to bring those hands a little closer towards the floor. And then this time straighten through the left knee and bend into your right knee. Walk the hands as far forward as you possibly can. And then come up onto the tiptoes of that right foot. Tiptoes of the left foot, but really pushing down nice and strong into those feet. One more breath here. And then bring those hands back, drop that right heel. Reach up with the hands to find your high lunge. Hold it in high lunge for a breath, sink the hips nice and low. And then bring the hands to the hips and then step forward onto your right foot, scooping that left foot through and up to knee high. Hip height, sorry. Then bring that left foot back to meet the right and we'll take the same on the other side. Breath in, raise the hands. Breath out, fold from the hips and bring those hands down to the floor. Next breath in, come up to a half lift. And then plant the hands and step your right foot back. Drop the back knee, keep the toes of the back foot untucked. And then lift up with the torso. Bring that left hand back to meet that right heel if you can reach. I can reach on this side, I have a little more ability to get there. The right hand lifts up to the ceiling and we push down nice and strong into both feet. The toes of the back foot, the sole of the front foot. One more breath here. Oops. Make sure you keep your balance, unlike myself. One more breath. Then windmill the hands down, either side of that left foot, and lift up with that back knee. Bend into your right knee and straighten your left leg. Finding that half pyramid pose. Still pushing into the toes of that right foot, sole of the left foot, keep that right hip coming forward, left hip coming back. And then coming straight with the right leg, bent into the left knee. Try and reach forward as far as you can with the hands. And then come onto the toes of that left foot. As you push back with the right heel, compress through the left hip flexor. Holding it here, just for another breath, nice long crown, down to the spine, down to the lower part of the back. And then drop that left heel back down. Reach the hands up to find your high crescent lunge. Sink the hips low. Hold it here in balance for a couple of breaths. Then bring the hands to the hips. Step forward onto your left foot, dragging your right foot along the mat and then lifting the right knee up to hip height. Release that right foot back to meet the left. We're going to do exactly the same movements again on the opposite side. Breath in, raise the hands to the ceiling. On your out breath, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor. Breath in comes up to a half lift. On your breath out, we step back with your left foot and we drop that back knee down to the floor. We untuck those, no, we keep those back toes tucked, sorry. We lift the torso. We reach back with the right hand to try and get towards that left heel and reach up with the left hand. As you see, I can reach this time as my body starts to open up as we move through the flow. Keep pushing down into the knee and the foot. Keep reaching up with that left hand. One more breath here. Have that proprioception of where your body is in space. And then come back, windmill the hands down, either side of that right foot. Lift up that left knee. Then bend into the left knee and straighten the right leg. Left hip squeezes forward, right hip squeezes back. Getting that hamstring stretch down that right side. And then straighten the left leg, bend into the right knee. Walk the hands as far forward as you can. And then coming onto the toes of that right foot, lifting the heel, compressing that right hip flexor, lengthening the left. Then drop that heel back down. Raise the hands, keep the hips low, finding Crescent Lunge. Maybe this time you want to find a back bend. Lifting the gaze, sending the arms back, lifting the lower belly up, flare through the ribs. Then bring the hands to the hips, step forward onto your right foot, bringing that left leg slowly through and up to knee high, hip height. And then this time we're going to find tree position. So either bring that foot onto the lower part of the leg or above the knee to the upper part of the leg. Finding that balancing position of tree. Bring the hands to the chest, keep your focal point in front of you on something that's not moving. Breathing easy in this space. So we've just added on that standing balance onto that regular flow. One more breath here in standing balance. And then release that left foot back to meet the right. Your next breath in, raise those hands up to the ceiling. And on your out breath, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor. On your breath in, come up to a half lift. On your breath out, step your right foot back and drop the right knee, keep the toes tucked. On your in-breath, raise up with the torso, reach back with that left hand and up with the right hand. Thinking about that proprioception again, finding that right heel with the left hand if you can reach, and reaching up with the right arm as much as you can, squeezing up the glutes to protect the lower back. One more breath here. And then bring those hands back down, either side of that left foot, lift up with the right knee, bend into the right knee and straighten the left. Half pyramid pose, encourage your right hip forward, left hip back. Push into those big toe mounts, push into the little toe mounts. And then start to straighten the right leg, bend into the left knee, walk the hands forward, keep pushing into those toes. Lift the heel of that left foot away from the mat so we feel that stretch down that right hip flexor. Length through the crown of the head, through the spine. And then drop that heel back down. Stay supported through the feet as you raise the arms to find your high lunge position and sink those hips low. Again, if you wish to take it into a back bend, support the lower back, lift up the lower belly, then flare the ribs, send the gaze up, send the arms back. Try and send the arms out of the eye gaze if you can. And then bring the hands back to the chest. Slowly step forward, dragging that right foot along the mat, bringing the knee up to hip height. And again, adding tree pose onto this side. So either bringing that right foot into that left shin or helping it into the inner left thigh. Push the foot into the leg of the standing side and then resist with that leg and push back into that right foot. Keep that right knee turned out by squeezing the outside glute of that right hip. Keep pushing those hips forward. Find a real focus, that stability from the floor. Elongation through the spine. But feel a little relaxation by using the breath to calm the mind, to calm the thoughts that you're not capable of getting to this space. Believe in yourself, trust your balance. One more breath here. Then release the hands to the hips. Bring that right foot back to the floor. Take a paddle of the feet. A little movement from the hips from side to side. Then we're going to take a little vinyasa flow. Feet hip width apart. Raise the hands up towards the ceiling. And then bend from the knees and find your chair position. Then fold from the hips, straighten through the legs, bring the hands to the floor. On your in-breath, come up to a half lift, place the hands on the shins. On your out-breath, plant the hands down, step your right foot back, step your left foot back, and then drop down the knees, untuck the toes, take yourself down with a straight body first to touch the nose to the floor. And then push that body back up. This time keep the hips high, let the chest drop. And then scoop yourself through with the belly into a baby cobra. Then let that chest come back to the mat, tuck your toes. Bring your chest back towards the thighs. Then push into the hands, push into the feet and lift up the hips to start to squeeze those heels back. Have a little nod and a shake of the head as you hold yourself in down dog. Put your weight into your left foot and lift your right leg up to the ceiling, toes back towards the shins. And we're going to take those circular movements with the leg again. So start to lower the foot down to hover off the floor. Then take it out to the right, lift it back up to the ceiling, back to the floor, out to the right. Notice the sensation in that hip. And when you get back to the ceiling, we're going to take it out to the right, opposite direction, down towards the floor, up to the ceiling, out to the right, down to the floor. Meet you back up at the ceiling. And then bring that left knee down. Step your right foot to the outside of the right hand. And find that low lizard lunge and tuck the back toes. Left hand stays down as your right hand lifts and open the chest to the right side room. Gaze up to that right thumb. Easy breath here. Then bring that right hand back. Tuck your back toes under. Keep your back knee slightly bent as you lift the knee up, but straighten through that right leg. So we're finding that lizard style pyramid pose with the right foot on the outside of that right hand. And then step your left foot to the outside of the left hand and sink the hips. Raise the arms into an active squat, arms in front, lift up the lower belly. And then straighten through the legs, reach the hands to the ceiling. On your out breath, bring the hands to the chest. Fold forward from the hips, bringing the hands to the floor. On your in breath, half lift, fingertips. On your out breath, plant the hands. Step your right foot back. Step your left foot back. Drop down with the knees. Untuck the toes. Turn the creases of the elbows. Release down with a straight body to touch the nose to the mat. Push into the hands to lift the chest away. This time keeping the hips high, let the chest come down to the floor. And then scoop the body through into a little baby cobra. Then let the chest come back to the mat, tuck under with the toes. Bring those chests back towards the thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet. Lift up the hips and squeeze the heels back. So one more flow on the opposite side, making circles with the legs first. Weight comes into the right foot, lift your left leg up to the ceiling. Squeeze the right heel to the floor and then start to lower the left foot down towards the mat to hover, then to take it over to the left, back up to the ceiling. One more in that direction, lower towards hovering off the floor, out to the left. Feel that socket of that hip. And then this time take it out to the left, down to hover off the mat, towards the right foot, back up towards the ceiling. One more, over to the left, down towards hovering off the floor, and back up towards the ceiling. Then come down onto your right knee and bring your left foot to the outside of the left hand. Sink the hips low and tuck that back foot. Then reach the left hand up to the ceiling and take that rotation of lizard. Feeling that opening through the chest. Finding as much twist as you can to lift that chest upward. One more breath here. Then bring that left hand back to the inside of that left foot. Tuck your back toes under, lift up your right knee, keeping it bent. And then start to straighten your left leg, bend into the right knee a little more. Lizard, half pyramid. Push strong into both sets of toes. One more breath here. And then stepping your right foot to the outside of the right hand. Bring yourself down into a squat, then lift the torso over the hips, bringing the arms out in front of you. And then lift the hands up to the ceiling, straighten the legs, bring the hands to the chest. Next breath in, raise the hands to the ceiling. On your out breath, fold from the hips, bring the hands down towards the floor. Breath in comes to a half lift onto fingertips. Breath out, plant the hands. Step back with your left foot. Step back with your right foot. Drop down with the knees, untuck the toes, turn the creases of the elbows. Take a knee down, press up. Elbows grazing the ribs. Push back up. This time just the chest, not the hips, go down. And then scoop your body through, drop the hips, come into a little baby cobra. Then release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes, chest comes back to those thighs. Then we push into those hands, we push into the feet to find our last down dog of the practice. Letting go of the head, nodding and shaking. Long breath in, long breath out. Bring the knees back to the mat. Tuck the feet under or swing the legs around. Bring the bum down to the floor. Scoop yourself into the middle, toes and heels to the front of the mat. Lift up with the arms to shoulder height. And then lift the arms up to the ceiling. And then slowly bring that torso back down to the floor with control. And then when you arrive down on the mat, Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Take a bend into your left knee. Right foot on top of that left knee and turn the knee out. One leg bridge, just up and down 3 times on both sides. On your inhale, push into the left foot, raise those hips. On your out breath, lower those hips back to the floor, keeping those hips nice and level. Next breath in, lift. And your next breath out, lower. One more on this side, breath in, lift. Breath out and lower. Just bring that left knee into the chest to give a little stretch on the outside of the hip. Pushing the right knee out with the right elbow. And then release that left foot back to the mat, right foot to meet the left, and we'll take that on the other side. Left ankle onto the top of the right thigh, turn the knee out, hands down for stabilizers. Push into the right foot, raise up with the hips, squeeze that right bum cheek. On your out breath, lower. So 2 more of these on this side. Push into that right foot, lift the hips. And lower. One more, lift up with the hips. And lower. Bring that right knee in to meet your hands. Either interlace the fingers around and then push that left knee out with the left elbow and squeeze the right knee in with the hands. Just taking that piriformis stretch on the outside left hip. One more breath here. And then release that right foot to the floor. We will just find a moment in relaxation with our knees dropping internally to get internal rotation of the hips. The feet out to the width of the mat. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Make sure you're comfy in your lower back if you need to tuck the tailbone down. And then just take a moment here. Maybe you want to move that head from side to side just to find that comfortable spot at the back of the head. Take a couple of long, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Another breath in, another breath out. Notice how that physical body feels. How you're using that energetic body, the breath. Being aware of anything that's coming into the mind, emotions, sensations, thoughts. Noticing how every part of the body feels and be knowledgeable. Use your wisdom, your discernment to make decisions to what you need to do at the end of practice. But just take this moment of pure bliss. Switch off, switch out. And thank yourself for the discipline of arriving on the mat. Knowing that you've done good for your health and well-being. And starting to bring one knee at a time in towards your chest. Give a squeeze of those knees, maybe have a little rock of that body from side to side. Just massaging that spine and thanking it for a practice. And then your choice to roll over onto one side, or if you wish to go a little more energetically up and down the spine. If you're with me, just rolling onto your side, take a deep breath in. Long breath out. Then making your way into a seat, bringing yourself into a comfortable seated position for a couple of breaths. Just finding a moment for gratitude. Everything that's within your life now. Everything you're able to do at this moment in time. Knowing patience is a virtue. Allowing different poses to come to the body as and when the body allows. Not forcing, but maybe challenging yourself a little bit. Your next breath in, reach the hands up and over the head. Bring the palms together at the top. Bring the hands back to the chest, soft gaze to the floor. Take a moment here, breathing easy. Breathe in wisdom and peace. Breathe out love and joy. Namaste.